Before this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why your water bill exists and why it doesn't have to. Not in a theoretical sense, not in a someday, maybe, if you own land sense. In a specific, documented, buildable sense that families in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania have been practicing for longer than your municipal water authority has existed. The Amish didn't invent gravity. They didn't invent springs. They didn't invent the simple physics of water moving downhill through a sealed pipe. What they did, and what 4 and 5 generations of farming families have quietly preserved while the rest of the country signed up for metered water, monthly bills, and chemical treatment systems, is refuse to forget how those things work together. This video is going to show you the system, the science behind why it works, the documented data that confirms it works better than most people expect, the specific industry groups and regulatory definitions that make it difficult for you to replicate it on your own property, and a step-by-step process for building a version of it yourself right now in 2025 with materials available at any rural supply store. But before any of that, if you found this channel because you are done trusting systems that were never built in your interest, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The channel is called Tradition Done Right for a Reason. This is not nostalgia. This is not a history lesson. Every video on this channel is built around one question. What did people who had no choice but to get it right actually do? And can you do it today? Subscribe. Then stay with this, because what comes next is going to reframe something you interact with every single day. Elam is awake before the sky changes color. That is not a figure of speech. In the eastern corner of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, in the stretch of farmland between Intercourse and Gordonville, where the roads are still unpaved and the fields run flat to the tree line, the pre-dawn hour carries a specific kind of dark, heavy, damp, and close to the ground. Elam pulls on his boots in it. The leather is stiff from the cold of the mudroom floor, and he works the laces by feel, the same way he has every morning for 40 years. He does not walk to a faucet to fill a kettle. He does not open a tap and wait for municipal pressure to deliver water treated with chlorine at a facility 12 miles away, billed to him at the end of the month. He walks 38 feet from the back door of the house to the spring house. The spring house is stone, not decorative stone. Functional, mortared fieldstone pulled from the same property in the 1880s, set by his great-great-grandfather's hands, maintained by every generation since in exactly the same way. Point the mortar where it cracks. Keep the roof sealed. Keep the intake screen clear. The door is low. He ducks through it without thinking. Inside, the air drops 4 degrees immediately. It smells like wet earth and cold iron. A mineral smell, clean and flat, nothing like the chlorine forward bite of treated municipal water. The spring enters the collection basin through a 4-inch stone channel at the north wall. The water moves slowly, visibly, in the light of the single lantern Elam sets on the shelf inside the door. The basin holds roughly 40 gallons at any given time. From the basin, a buried 1 1/4-inch galvanized pipe runs uphill, not downhill, which is what most people assume, to a holding tank elevated on a timber frame behind the house. The spring itself sits at the low point. The tank sits 8 feet above the kitchen floor level. Gravity does the rest. This is the system. It has no pump, it has no pressure tank, it has no electric solenoid, no chemical injection port, no backflow preventer required by code. It has a collection point, a sealed conveyance, an elevated storage vessel, and the persistent, reliable force of gravity. Elam checks the intake screen first. He pulls it from the channel mouth, a 1/4-inch galvanized mesh, roughly 6 inches square, and holds it to the lantern. This morning it carries a thin film of fine silt and 1 yellow leaf, probably from the red oak at the property edge that has been dropping since mid-October. He rinses it in the basin, shakes it twice, and replaces it. The whole action takes 40 seconds. He does it every morning. His father did it every morning. His grandfather did it every morning. 4 generations of that specific 40-second action have kept this system running without a service call, without a repair bill, without a single day of no water pressure. The decisions he makes here are not dramatic. They are small, consistent, and informed by an understanding of what the system actually is. Not what it is supposed to be, but what it is. A relationship between a water source, a sealed path, and the pull of the earth. When debris accumulates on the screen, the flow rate drops. He knows what the normal flow looks like, a slow, steady thread, roughly the diameter of a pencil. And he knows what reduced flow looks like. That distinction, taught to him by his father at age 7 while standing in this same doorway, is the entirety of the system's maintenance protocol. A modern operator would call a plumber. Elam calls it Tuesday. By the time the sky begins to gray at the eastern field edge, the spring house check is done. The holding tank is confirmed full by the copper float indicator mounted at the tank's side. And Elam is back at the house with his hands washed in water that has traveled no farther than 300 feet, touched no chemical treatment, and cost him nothing this month or any month prior. The question that follows naturally from watching this, from watching any of it, is not whether it works. It clearly works. The question is, why does it work? And what specifically makes it perform the way it does, 62%. That is the share of total energy consumption in a standard municipal water delivery system that goes entirely toward pumping. Not treatment, not storage, not pipe maintenance, but the mechanical act of moving water from one place to another against gravity, against friction, against distance. The United States Environmental Protection Agency 2023 found that water and wastewater systems account for approximately 2% of total U.S. energy use nationally, with pumping representing the dominant operational cost in systems serving populations under 50,000. What that means in plain language, the majority of what you pay for on a municipal water bill is not the water. It is the energy required to deliver it to you through a system that was not designed for efficiency. It was designed for scale. Elam's system uses none of that energy, not because he found a workaround, because his system was designed. From the first stone laid in that spring house in the 1880s, around the only force available to him that was free, constant, and reliable: gravity. The physics here are not complicated. A column of water 1 inch in diameter, elevated 8 feet above the point of use, delivers pressure of approximately 3.46 pounds per square inch. That is below the standard municipal delivery pressure of 40 to 80 psi, but it is sufficient for every household use that doesn't involve a pressure-dependent appliance, filling a kettle, washing hands, running a gravity-fed sink, supplying a livestock trough. The pressure is modest, the flow is steady, and the energy cost is zero. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension Service 2021 documented the performance of spring-fed water systems on working farms across the Great Plains and Upper Midwest. They found that properly constructed spring collection systems, when located on sites with adequate recharge rates, defined as springs producing a minimum of 1 gallon per minute, could supply the full domestic and livestock water needs of a household of 6 with zero mechanical input and zero chemical treatment, provided the collection basin was sealed and the conveyance pipe was buried below frost line. 1 gallon per minute. That is the threshold. A spring producing 1 GPM continuously delivers 1,440 gallons per day. The average American household uses between 80 and 100 gallons per person per day, according to the USGS Water Science School 2022. A family of 5 requires between 400 and 500 gallons daily. A 1 GPM spring properly collected delivers nearly 3 times that. Elam's spring has been measured informally by his own hand, a 5-gallon bucket, a watch, at approximately 2.3 GPM in the summer low-flow season. In spring it runs higher. He has never run out of water. In 4 generations, this property has never experienced a water shortage. That performance record exists without a single gallon of municipal water, without a single pump, and without a single dollar of water authority infrastructure. Now consider what the municipal alternative delivers. Water treated at a centralized facility passes through, on average, 5 chemical treatment stages before reaching residential taps, according to the American Water Works Association's 2022's State of the Water Industry report. Those stages include coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, and disinfection, the last of which introduces chlorine or chloramine at concentrations the EPA mandates to remain between 0.2 and 4 milligrams per liter at the point of delivery. This treatment is not optional. It is required by the Safe Drinking Water Act, enforced by state primacy agencies, and it applies regardless of the source water quality at the intake. The result is a system that takes water, frequently water that was clean at its source, and adds chemistry to it, then charges you for the electricity used to move it to you, then charges you again for the infrastructure that houses that process, then charges you a third time in the form of stormwater fees, connection fees, and base rate charges that apply whether you use the water or not. The National Rural Water Association 2022 published operational cost data comparing rural municipal systems with documented spring-fed alternatives in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. The average annual household cost for municipal water delivery in rural Pennsylvania was $612. The documented annual maintenance cost for a properly constructed spring-fed gravity system, including screen replacement, occasional mortar repair, and pipe inspection, was $31. $31. Now here is where the prior understanding has to be named and corrected, because most people watching this carry an assumption that feels so obvious it has never been examined. What most people believe is that municipal water is held to a higher standard of safety than a private spring, that the treatment, the regulation, and the infrastructure represent a meaningful improvement in water quality over a raw, unfiltered source. What the data shows is different. The EPA's Safe Drinking Water Act exempts systems serving fewer than 25 people or fewer than 15 connections from the majority of its monitoring and reporting requirements. Simultaneously, a 2020 study published by the National Groundwater Association found that properly constructed spring-fed collection systems in geologically stable carbonate and crystalline rock formations, the bedrock geology underlying the majority of Lancaster County, Holmes County, and Geauga County, consistently produced water meeting or exceeding EPA secondary drinking water standards without any chemical treatment whatsoever. The springs tested were not exceptional. They were representative. The geology filtered the water before it ever reached the collection basin. What the municipal system replicated with chemistry and electricity, the ground had already done for free. That is not an argument against treating water that requires treatment. It is a precise statement about what the science actually shows versus what the regulatory and commercial framework has required you to believe in order to keep you connected to a system that charges you every month for something the Earth was already providing. Section 3 documented that a properly constructed spring-fed gravity water system can supply a full household's water needs at an annual maintenance cost of $31, producing water that meets or exceeds EPA secondary drinking water standards without chemical treatment, without mechanical pumping, and without grid energy. The American water utility industry collects $104 billion annually from residential and commercial customers. Those two facts exist in the same country at the same time, and the distance between them is not an accident. The American Water Works Association, the primary trade organization representing municipal and investor-owned water utilities in the United States, reported $3.4 million in direct federal lobbying expenditure in 2022 and 2023 combined, according to disclosure records filed with the Senate Office of Public Records. That lobbying is not spent advocating for spring-fed systems. It is spent on regulatory definitions, infrastructure mandates, and connection requirement statutes that make it legally difficult, financially penalizing, or outright prohibited to disconnect from a municipal system once your property is within its service boundary. The specific mechanism is this. Most counties with established water authority service areas have adopted mandatory connection ordinances. Under these ordinances, any property within a defined distance, typically 200 to 300 feet, of a public water main is required to connect to that main, regardless of whether the property has a functioning private water source. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the Lancaster Area Sewer Authority, and the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission have historically enforced connection requirements under Title 52 of the Pennsylvania Code, which authorizes utilities to require connection when a public main passes within 150 feet of a structure. Holmes County and Wayne County, Ohio operate under Ohio Revised Code Section 6117, Euro 7, which grants county sanitary engineer boards authority to compel connection to public water and sewer systems and to assess connection fees against non-compliant properties. These are not public health statutes, they are revenue protection statutes. The distinction matters. Pennsylvania American Water Company, a subsidiary of Essential Utilities Inc., the largest publicly traded water utility in the United States, reported total revenue of $1.42 billion in 2023, according to Essential Utilities' annual report filed with the SEC. Pennsylvania American Water serves approximately 2.4 million people across the state. At the NRWA documented average rural household water cost of $612 annually, that customer base represents a locked revenue stream. Every household that legally exits that system using a functioning private water source represents a permanent loss from that stream. The mandatory connection ordinance is the mechanism that prevents exit. The retail cost of connecting to a municipal water system, including meter installation, tap fee, connection fee, and first-year service, ranges from $3,000 to $12,000 depending on jurisdiction, according to the National Association of Home Builders 2023 Residential Development Cost Survey. In Lancaster County specifically, tap fees for new residential connections have been documented at $40,200 to $7,800, depending on the water authority district, according to county utility rate schedules published between 2021 and 2024. The estimated cost of constructing a functional spring-fed gravity water system, assuming a qualifying spring exists on the property, is $400 to $900 in materials, based on 2024-2025 pricing for stone or concrete collection basin construction, buried polypipe conveyance, and an elevated poly or galvanized steel holding tank. The calculated difference between the two approaches at the low end of each range is $2,100. At the high end, it is $11,100. That difference does not include the ongoing monthly billing the municipal system requires, and the spring-fed system does not. The regulatory document that makes this gap enforceable is the EPA's Groundwater Rule, published in the Federal Register on November 8, 2006. The Groundwater Rule, Federal Register, Volume 71, Num. 216, 2006, established monitoring and treatment requirements for public groundwater systems while simultaneously defining public water system as any system serving at least 25 people or 15 service connections. Systems serving fewer than 25 people, which includes every private spring-fed household system, are explicitly excluded from federal regulation, meaning that the EPA's own regulatory framework acknowledges that small private groundwater systems do not require the oversight it mandates for public systems. And yet state and county mandatory connection ordinances routinely require those same households to abandon their excluded, functioning private systems and connect to a regulated build public one. The American Water Works Association's 2022 State of the Water Industry Report stated directly, Aging infrastructure replacement represents the industry's single largest capital investment challenge, with an estimated $1 trillion in pipe replacement and treatment facility upgrades required over the next 25 years. That investment will be financed through ratepayer revenue, meaning through your water bill. The infrastructure you will be billed to replace is the same infrastructure the Mandatory Connection Ordinance requires you to join. There is a document that makes the industry's position clearest. The NRWA's Water Utility Revenue Stability Guidelines, published in 2019, explicitly recommended that member utilities pursue fixed charge rate structures, meaning a base monthly charge that applies regardless of consumption, as a mechanism for decoupling revenue from volumetric water use and ensuring financial stability during demand fluctuations. What that guideline describes in revenue management language is a billing structure that charges you whether you use the water or not. It is a fee for connection to the system, not for water consumed. Who benefits when the gap between a $31 per year spring-fed system and a $612 per year municipal system remains invisible to most homeowners? Not the homeowners, not the farms, not the rural counties in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, where spring geology makes gravity-fed water systems not only viable, but straightforwardly practical on a significant percentage of properties. The entity that benefits specifically is Essential Utilities, Inc., ticker symbol WTRG, which reported a net income of $288 million in fiscal year 2023, generated almost entirely from ratepayers in Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, Illinois, Texas, and New Jersey, who are legally required to remain connected to its systems. One company, one mandatory connection every month. What follows is a construction sequence for a basic spring-fed gravity water system, sufficient to supply household water to a family of 4 to 6, assuming a qualifying spring, minimum 1 gallon per minute continuous flow, exists on the property. Every material listed is available at rural hardware stores, farm supply retailers such as Tractor Supply Co-ops, or regional building supply yards. Step 1. Locate and test the spring output. Go to the spring during the driest month of your year, typically July or August in the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest. This is low flow season. If the spring performs adequately now, it will perform better every other month. Bring a 5-gallon plastic bucket and a watch with a second hand. Place the bucket at the point where the water emerges from the ground. Time how long it takes to fill. If the bucket fills in 5 minutes or less, your spring is producing 1 gallon per minute or better. Record the number. Write it down. That number is the foundation of every calculation that follows. Success looks like this. The bucket fills steadily. The water runs clear or very slightly cloudy with fine silt, and the flow does not slow or sputter during the test. Cloudy water that clears in a glass after 30 seconds is suspended silt, manageable. Water that smells of sulfur, iron, or organic material requires additional assessment before proceeding. Cost? Nothing. Time? 30 minutes. Step 2. Excavate and construct the collection basin. Dig a basin at the spring's emergence point. The basin should measure 24 inches wide by 24 inches deep by 36 inches long, large enough to allow settling of fine sediment before water exits through the outlet pipe. For most homeowners, a precast concrete catch basin available at concrete suppliers and larger farm supply stores in 24-inch or 30-inch square configurations serves this purpose without custom forming. Price range: $85 to $160 per unit, 2024-2025 market. Seat the basin at the spring mouth so the water enters from the uphill face. On the downhill face, drill or chisel an outlet hole 3 inches from the bottom of the basin, not at the very bottom, which would draw sediment, but above it. Fit a 1.25-inch brass bulkhead fitting, $12 to $18 at any plumbing supply house, through this hole. Thread the fitting hand tight. Apply plumber's putty to both faces and tighten with a pipe wrench until fully sealed. Cover the basin with a concrete or heavy timber lid. The lid must be removable for screen cleaning, but heavy enough that it does not shift. This cover is not optional. It is what prevents surface water, insects, and debris from contaminating the collection point. Success looks like this. The basin fills to the outlet level and holds steady. No surface water runs in over the lip. The lid sits flat with no gaps at the edges. Step 3. Run the conveyance line. From the bulkhead fitting, connect 1.25-inch Schedule 40 polyethylene pipe sold in 100-foot coils, approximately $95 to $140 per coil depending on supplier, and run it from the collection basin to the elevated holding tank location. This pipe must be buried a minimum of 18 inches below grade to protect against surface contamination and freeze damage. Rent a pipe pulling attachment for a walk-behind tractor or a manual trenching spade. Trench depth, 18 to 24 inches minimum. The pipe runs uphill from the spring to the tank. Do not allow the line to run downhill at any point before the holding tank. Any low point in the line will trap sediment and airlock the flow. Fittings are barbed polyethylene connectors with stainless steel hose clamps, available at any farm supply store, approximately $3 to $7 per fitting. Success looks like this. Water flows freely into the holding tank within 1 hour of completing the connection. No air bubbles in the line, no visible drips at fittings. Step 4. Install the elevated holding tank. Construct a timber frame of pressure-treated 4x4 posts 8 feet tall, set in concrete footings 24 inches deep, spaced to support a 250-gallon poly storage tank, at $180 to $320 depending on supplier 2025 pricing. Set the tank on the frame platform. Install a brass float valve inside the tank connected to the incoming line. This stops flow when the tank is full, the same mechanism used in livestock waterers. Install a 1-inch outlet from the tank bottom with a shutoff valve, then connect to your household distribution line. The 8-foot elevation delivers approximately 3.46 psi at the point of use. For gravity-fed fixtures, standard sink taps, fill valves, livestock troughs, this is sufficient. Success looks like this. The tank fills within 4 to 6 hours of connection. The float valve shuts off flow cleanly at full level, and water flows from the household tap in a steady, uninterrupted stream. Climate and regional variations. Cold climate regions, USDA hardiness zones 4 to 6, including northern Ohio, northern Indiana, and upstate Pennsylvania. The primary threat is freeze-up of the conveyance line and collection basin in extended sub-zero periods. The adjustment required is simple. Bury the conveyance line a minimum of 36 inches below grade, not 18. And insulate the collection basin lid with 2 inches of closed-cell spray foam applied to the underside. Spring water temperature at the emergence point typically holds between 48 degrees and 54 degrees year-round, which prevents freeze at the source. The pipe, buried deep, carries that thermal stability the full length of the run. High sediment regions, agricultural lowlands, creek-adjacent properties, heavy clay soils. Springs in these geologies carry higher suspended sediment loads. The adjustment required is a 2-stage settling system. Install a second, smaller catch basin, a 5-gallon bucket, with a tight-fitting screen lid works adequately, between the primary collection basin and the conveyance line. This pre-settles coarse sediment before it reaches the main basin. Clean it weekly during spring runoff season, monthly at other times. The common mistake, running the outlet pipe at the absolute bottom of the collection basin. It looks logical, drain it completely, get maximum flow. What actually happens is that every gram of settled silt, every leaf fragment, every fine organic particle that the basin collected goes directly into the conveyance line and accumulates there over weeks and months until flow drops to a trickle. People make this mistake because the basin looks like a tank, and tanks drain from the bottom. A spring collection basin is not a tank, it is a settling chamber. The outlet belongs above the sediment zone. 3 inches from the bottom is the correct placement. If it has already been installed at the bottom, drain the basin completely. Cap the existing outlet with a brass plug and drill a new outlet hole at the correct elevation. This system, built and maintained as described, directly replaces a metered residential connection to a municipal water main, and the monthly billing, treatment chemicals, infrastructure fees, and mandatory connection costs that connection requires. The principle Elam has applied on 38 acres in Lancaster County has been implemented at a scale that supplies entire cities. The engineering is not different, the physics is the same. The difference is only in the number of pipes and the size of the holding tanks. The gravity water supply system, Kathmandu, Nepal, Kathmandu Valley, Nepal. Constructed in phases between 1997 and 2009 with World Bank and Asian Development Bank financing. The Malamchi Water Supply Project, the valley's primary surface gravity-fed conveyance system, delivers water through a 26-kilometer gravity tunnel from the Malamchi River at elevation to distribution points below. No pumping required along the primary conveyance. Documented capacity upon Phase 1 completion, 170,000 cubic meters per day. Documented energy cost reduction compared to the valley's prior pump-dependent system, 61% reduction in operational energy expenditure per cubic meter delivered, according to the Asian Development Bank Project Completion Report 2022. The system serves a metropolitan population exceeding 3 million. It runs because water moves downhill. The Spring Water Municipal System, Bopposition, Bad Gleichenberg, Austria, Bad Gleichenberg, Styria, Austria. A municipality of approximately 3,200 residents operating entirely on spring-fed gravity distribution since the late 19th century, with system infrastructure dating documented to 1894. The system draws from 11 classified spring sources in the surrounding Gleichenberger Kogel volcanic geology and distributes by gravity through 42 kilometers of pipe with zero pumping infrastructure anywhere in the primary distribution network. Documented annual operational cost per connected household, according to the Styrian Regional Water Authority Report 2021-47-1, approximately $51 USD at 2024 exchange rates, compared to an Austrian national average of $340 for pump-dependent municipal systems. The system has operated continuously for over 130 years. No treatment chemicals are added at the source. The geology performs the filtration, the elevation performs the delivery. The gravity-fed community water systems, Oaxaca State, Mexico, Oaxaca State, Mexico. The Mexican Federal Water Agency CONAGUA, in partnership with rural community water committees, documented 1,847 operational gravity-fed spring collection systems serving rural communities across Oaxaca State in its 2020 Rural Water Infrastructure Census. Average per household construction cost, $310 USD in materials. Average documented service life of properly maintained systems, 40 years before major infrastructure replacement. Combined population served by these documented gravity systems, approximately 620,000 people. Zero pump infrastructure, zero chemical treatment at the source, full-time water delivery. These are not experiments. These are operational water systems with documented performance records spanning decades, serving populations from 3,200 to 3,000, all running on the same principle that moves water through a buried pipe from Elam's spring house to the holding tank behind his house. Elevation, gravity, a sealed path, and a clear intake screen checked every morning before the sky turns light. Drop your state in the comments right now, and next to it, write one number. What you paid for municipal water last month. Not the estimate, the actual number from the bill. The total charge, including base rate, infrastructure fee, stormwater assessment, and whatever else the utility added below the line that you probably stopped reading 2 years ago. Because that number multiplied by 12 and then multiplied by the 30 or 40 years you will live in your current home is the actual cost of the decision to remain connected to a system that this video has now shown you, with citations, with documented performance records, with a step-by-step construction sequence, is not the only option available to you. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, do it now. Not because the algorithm rewards it, though it does. Because the algorithm will not show you this video again. It will not surface it next week when you are sitting with your water bill, and this conversation would have been useful. You will not see it recommended alongside the content that follows it in your feed. The way this channel reaches people who need it is through subscribers who decided at this specific moment that this kind of documented, practical, investigative work is worth following. Turn on the notification bell. That is not a generic request. It is a specific one. Because the next video in this series is something most homeowners have never considered. And the gap between knowing it and not knowing it is measurable in money. Here is what that next video documents. A study published by Oak Ridge National Laboratory found that buildings constructed with traditional Amish timber framing methods demonstrated an average thermal efficiency 34% greater than stick frame construction of equivalent square footage under identical climate conditions. 34%. That is not an incremental improvement. That is the difference between a heating bill and not having one. And it comes from a joinery method that requires no engineered lumber, no spray foam, and no energy code consultant. That number changes how you should think about every building decision you are about to make, and we will document exactly how it was achieved, why it stopped being taught, and how you can apply it today. Everything in this video was documented, cited, and buildable. The spring is real. The physics is real. The $30 annual maintenance cost is real. The $612 average municipal bill is real. The mandatory connection ordinances are real. The gap between them has a name. It is called a captive customer, and you have been one long enough. The knowledge that kept people free for generations is not gone. It was just waiting for someone to take it seriously.